Is gain staging necessary? Yes and no. Let me explain. Hi, my name is Virgo. Welcome back to the channel. Gain staging is an old school term to help us work around noisy analog equipments. These days I use it to keep organized and to think about how much gain is going in each plugin in my mixing chain. See, before I start a mix, I put together a mixing plan as to where I need to go with the mix, right? So the first 4 bullet points look like this: import, routing, gain staging, and balance, right? So let me show you what that looks like in real life. All right, so here we have some plugins in a mix. All right, so it's a bit of a, I don't want to say tedious work, but it's tedious work. I had already gone ahead and turned up or down all elements of the mix, all tracks. For them to hit this VU meter right around the -18, I'm sorry, to hit the VU meter right around the 0 dB VU, which is usually -18 dB FS, but it's sort of not the same. It's the same, but not the same. So, so this is a full scale FS meter, a peak meter. 0 dB here and 0 dB there are 2 different zeros, right? So that's why we use the VU instead of this one. And the 18 dB here is also different. Don't ask me how to explain it. I'm not smart enough. I just do what they say. So, but it sounds amazing. So most plugins, the reason why we use it this way, it's because most plugins optimize to sound the best at 0 dB VU instead of 0 dB full scale or 18 dB full scale, right? Let me play this track and then you can hear what that sounds like at 18 dB VU.
Spit the kind of writtens you know could set off a fire alarm. I've been studying long enough to know the love of.
Right. So I had already gone ahead and do all the tracks. The reason why I play this for you is because I'm going to play you a snare, which doesn't work for this technique. So using the same VU meter, I'm going to play you the snare, and that snare is going to be peaking just as high as that vocal, and it's not even going to hit nowhere near that 0 dB VU.
Spit the kind of.
My bad. Hold on. Snare. Here goes this. All right, peaking around the same spot. It's nowhere near that 0 dB VU. If I were to turn it up to where it starts to hit that 0 dB VU, you'll see what happens. All right, so it starts to clip the plugin. Now, it's fine if it's clipping the plugin and I like what it's doing, but I don't like how chunky and muddy the snare has gotten all of a sudden. So to mitigate that, if you're doing your gain staging and you come across a fast transient element that's not behaving, it doesn't matter how high you turn it up, it's not hitting 0 VU, and when it does hit 0 dB VU, it's clipping the plugin and you don't like what you're hearing, just leave it, turn it up until you hear something you like, and leave it there. It doesn't matter if the plugin is clipping, as long as you like what you hear, really doesn't matter. All right, so I had gone ahead and do that for all the tracks. So I'm just gonna turn this turn it on. What did I do? Here it is. So now all the plugins for the I mean, I can play you before and after. I don't know if you'll hear a difference because the levels are not balanced. I just turn everything up or down. It's just, you know, levels all over the place. But I'll play you a little bit and see if you hear a difference. All right, before gain staging. Sounds like a mess.
Spit the kind of writtens you know could set off a fire alarm. I've been studying long enough to know the love of money is wrong. So I put my money in song and just love the music. Is that any better? Cause this music gon' make me plenty cheddar. And I'm
right, it's a mess because it's not something that's ready to be consumed, right? So not only it's not anything that is ready to be consumed, I'm not comfortable pumping this much gain into my mix bus processing, right? So before I turn on my mix bus processing, what I'm gonna do is do a rough balance. So I'm just gonna turn things up or down to where I think they should be, considering the type of mix that we're working with. I think the vocal is very important. It's very, very important, and everything else is pretty much decoration around the vocal. So I went ahead and did the balancing. I mean, all I really use to do that is a trim plugin, and I also use the some of these Mixbus virtual console collection to maybe turn things up a bit in some cases and turn things down a bit. Like I'm talking about groups. At this point down here, we're working with like groups of tracks, stems or whatever. And at that point, I think it'll bring my level down to something I feel much more comfortable turning these bus processing plugins on to. So here it is. It's pretty quiet, but it's what I like.
spit the kind of writtens you know could set off a fire alarm. I've been studying long enough to know the love of money is wrong. So I put my money in song and just love the music. Is that any better? Cause this
all right, what I'm gonna do is use one of these plugins to turn it up a bit. So what I'm gonna do is add 6. Just add some gain. I was gonna add 6, but I'm gonna add 9 now.
spit the kind of writtens you know could set off a fire alarm. I've been studying long enough to know the love of money is wrong. So I put my money in song and just love the music. Is that any better? Cause this music gon' make me plenty cheddar, and I'm plenty fat.
Right. I shouldn't do it before and after because it's not fair, because the levels are not the same. And now here's what I should also say, that the level at which we're at right now is optimal for what I think the plugins, the optimal for the plugins on the mix bus.
Spit the kind of writtens you know could set off a fire alarm. I've been studying long enough to know the love of money is wrong. So I put my money in song and just love the music. Is that any better? Cause this music gon' make me plenty cheddar, and I'm plenty fed up and crazy enough to prove it. I've been thinking about how the floors would sing.
If you have your headphones on, you know how good this sounds right about now. It sounds amazing. So at this point, I'm ready to cook. At this point, I am ready to start mixing and be all sorts of creative with, EQ, compression, and saturation, delay, reverb, you name it. Is gain staging right for you? Do you need to gain stage? You may not need to gain stage. You may not need to gain stage, but I think it's an important process. You don't need to gain stage to make an incredible mix. Listen to Andrew, still having a hard time trying to put in words what gain staging is.
Like I think that needs to be something that's intuitive. You just hear like, oh, I'm smashing something somewhere. And then you find out where it's too loud and you deal with it. But I don't think there's anything that will inherently get you a better mix by gain staging. But maybe I'm wrong. I'm not even quite sure what the process would be. So I don't want to say it's a myth, but I don't get it.
But what I think Andrew is really saying is use your ears. And until next time, I'm Fuego. Peace.